Okay, good afternoon. It's nice to see you all here and to be here together on such a beautiful afternoon. And we just want to guide you a little bit through interview preparation, just in case someone didn't met me yet. I'm Agnes Reimer. I work as an employment facilitator at Regional Connections, and I and my coworker Renee will just guide you through this short afternoon webinar. Okay, so one of the topics we want to cover today is we want to talk about research, how to prepare yourself the best. We want to talk about how you can match your skills to the employer's needs and how to, take care of all the questions who are coming and how to practice for them. So we will brush a little bit about interview etiquettes and how you can practice interview questions, even to prepare your own questions for an interview. And for me, the most important step is step 4, where we talk about follow-ups and how to do that professional. All right, so the purpose of an interview is, and you can see it a little bit in this graphic I have here on the screen, is to allow the employer to learn as much about you as they can in a really short time period. An interview is normally not a whole day where they can see you, reflect your work, but it is a really short time where you can just present if you can do the job, if you are really fitting into the team, and if you will do the job they are looking for to fill. All right, so an employer wants to see all these 3 things in you, and somehow through your resume, you got them curious about your personality, and through the interview, they want to see how these 2 things fit together. So a really big part is research, right? So if you're going into an interview, don't just show up there without knowing what is this company about or what is this organization about. You need to find the job description, look over it again. It's really helpful if you're applying for a job that you're printing out this job application, because sometimes they take it out of the web because they're done with screening resumes. So now they're inviting for interviews, so they are deleting their job job ad. And so sometimes it's then really hard to remember, okay, what were they looking for and what were the details I created my resume for. So it's really important to have the job description, read articles about them. If it's something like an organization, you will find a lot of articles in the local newspapers or online. We have that privilege and the opportunity to look up everything and see how they are presenting themselves. Google is a really, really big help to learn about a company and what their mission statements is, what their what their goals are, right? So you want to know, so where's the location? What products are they actually producing? What values do they have? And you always can find that, like I said already, in the mission statements. You want to see if they have any current projects, and maybe you have already experience in your previous jobs and can present that in an interview. And you want to know what kind of size and structure they have, just to kind of, in an interview, be well prepared to know why you applied there. It is 700 employees or just 7. It's a really difference about the dynamic, okay? And you can look into the company website. You can, the best is to ask employees, who work there, so that you can connect with them. You can ask them, how is it to work here? What is important? What is valued, right? So it is really good to make these connections already pre-hand. And if anything, you can even request an informational interview. And it's more and more in common that you're just asking, I want to learn about this company to see even if I want to work there, right? It's not just that you are looking for a job, but they are looking for someone to fit into this role and to take over this position. and in a really good manner, right? So it is a two-sided relationship here, not just that you need a job, and they need you as well if you are fitting for the job, okay? So really important is that you really match your skills to the employer's needs, that you want to prepare yourself ahead, and you want to look, okay, what skills do I have and what are relevant for the position? And you did that already in your resume, so it should be easy for you to look it up again. You need to consider what experience and attributes you want to elaborate about in an interview. Again, you have probably a lifetime of experience, and often there's not enough time to tell them all. So you need to kind of look into it. What is important for the position? What do I want to highlight? What do I want him, her to know about me so that I get a really good shot at this position? You need to look into your research and into the job posting, and you need to list up the employer's most desired skills in a candidate for this position. And you want to maybe link and think about some stories that you would like to share in an interview so that it makes more sense and makes a really round and beautiful picture about all your experience and skills, right? There are a lot of skills that employers value, and they will ask you some questions and there is a certain skill behind it. So for example, if they would ask you something like, tell me about a time when you had to decide in a situation without having all information you needed, how would you handle it and why would you handle it like that? They want to see what kind of decision-making skills you have. Or they will ask you about describe a situation where others you were working with on a project disagreed with your ideas. What did you do? How did you handle this situation? Again, they want to look how you are working in a team, if you are fitting into the team they are having already, okay? So the third step we want to see about is practice and anticipate your interview questions. It is really important to be prepared. So even just to write them down at home, some answers, finding out, and it is allowed to bring a little notebook with to your interview and ask them pre-hand, is it okay if I'm making some notes during the interview? And 99% of all HR or interviewers will tell you yes, absolutely. But it's a really respectful and professional attitude to ask about it, okay? So we want to talk about the interview etiquettes. And most of them are common sense, like an interview do is for sure come early, arrive 10 minutes or so before the interview appointment so that you just can get adjusted to the surrounding. Make sure that your cell phone is off. Even the vibrating, sometimes it's really loud, so to not be distracted for your own good, just completely shut it down. Dress appropriately, right? And that is a common interview do. Be prepared, review your resume, look into it, how you praise yourself so that you can reflect your resume in the interview. Make sure that you can explain everything on the resume and that you can use direct examples. So copy pasting is always a bad advice for a resume, and we always say don't do it. And that's why, because in an interview, you need to reflect those skills and those experience. And relax, be honest, be yourself, and have fun. I know it's sometimes really hard, but it is really important that you will then show a lot of confidence if you do so. And interview don'ts, it's really common sense. Don't chew gum. That's not really good. Don't interrupt or argue with the interviewer. Use proper language. Don't use slang or cursing or swearing or rolling your eyes if you think something is really obviously. And something what's more common is displaying nervous habits like finger tapping or crossing the arms because you feel uncomfortable and you want to protect yourself. So a lot of body language. If you have maybe a habit and you realize it, or maybe someone else said, hey, keep your feet still, or anything like that, what really, really helps is to lean back in your seat, to put your arms on the armrests or on your lap, and sit really deep in the seat, because that will give you a centered feeling. Okay, now in this time of COVID-19, we have a lot of online interviews, and sometimes even if you would apply for a position somewhere farther away, they will offer you an online interview as well. What really is important is to eliminate any distractions. So kids running around, like for now, I told my kids, don't come in for an hour, this door is closed, and I'm hoping they will be obedient. But things like that, because often we are at home, and especially now we have our kids at home, we have sometimes our partners at home, to really eliminate distractions. Schedule your interview into a time slot where you know you will not be interrupted, and allow a lot of time, like plenty of time for this interview. Don't think, oh, in 15 minutes I'm done, and the interviewer has more questions because you're connecting and you're kind of feeling already on the rush because you have a different appointment schedule. So please schedule 1 to 2 hours actually, so that you can be really relaxed and you can concentrate on that interview. Silence anything that could interfere with your conversation, right? Again, the phone or email, sometimes we get that bing when someone sends us a notification. Just silence everything, and make sure that even your background is not busy. Sometimes it's not possible, like you see my background, it's not the best background, but however, try to have a good background, a good lighting. Put up your computer so you are online with the camera, and that you have, you're not sitting against the window so that they are only seeing a shadow. That's kind of not really helpful. Don't have any pets running around. And a really good tip is don't be half closed, right? So I could even get up now and I'm still professional, if you know what I mean. And just be prepared. Have your pen everywhere. Have everything you need close by. And the good on interview via online, like on a FaceTime or Skype appointment, is that you can have some cheat sheets beside you. You know, you can have some notes. You can maybe put some sticker notes in front of you on the wall where you're like, don't talk like this, sit, relax, smile. Something like that would encourage you and to stay focused on the goal to get the job and to present yourself the best as possible. Okay, so and then do a test run with your computer, because technique sometimes is incredible, but sometimes it kind of is not really helpful if the audio is not working, if the camera is not really picking up, and you need to tell the interviewer, I'm sorry, I need to first fix my situation here. That's not really professional. So make a test run before so everything works well. You can even maybe Skype or FaceTime with a friend and say, okay, how do I look now? Is my lighting good? Is the spot good for my camera? So is my audio good? So just to have the kind of confirmation that really everything is okay, and calm your nerves. You know, if you're not used to talk on like Skype or FaceTime, practice it with a friend, practice it with us. It's no problem, we can do that. And really look like not all the time down because you have your notes there, but try to look them into the eyes. I know it's really weird because where's the camera and where's the interviewer, and maybe it is just a small picture. However, try really hard to look straight forward so that the interviewer feels like you're really sitting across him and you are just approaching it professionally. Okay?
Okay, so next what we want to talk about are the 3 types of interview questions that an employer may ask you. These are traditional, behavior descriptive, and hypothetical questions. questions. So traditional questions are the first type of questions we're going to talk about. These are more general questions with some questions that are related to the company or industry specific questions. The purpose of these are to learn more about you as a person and about the skills that you have that is related to the position that you've applied for. Some examples of these questions are, why do you want to work here? And what is your strength? One of the most common questions that an employer will often ask you is, tell me about yourself. That can be a really tough one for most people to answer. So we have broke it down into 4 parts to help you answer that. That is experience, education, skills and attributes, and something personal about yourself. For experience, you want to discuss some relevant experience that you have, so you can tell the employer how you can be a benefit to that company. Same goes for your education. You want to talk about your relevant education and training and why that will help you in the position you've applied for. For skills and attributes, you want to mention about 3 skills that you think is important for the employer to know that you have, and that would again benefit that position that you've applied for. Then you want to share something personal. This could be an interest, a hobby, or an activity. If possible, if you can try and relate this to the position you've applied for or the company's culture, and make sure whatever you share is work appropriate. Another thing that I would like to mention, Agnes mentioned it before as well, about bringing your notebook. Even if you're at home, get out a piece of paper, practice writing down your answers here. So then when the time comes for this question, you'll feel more prepared. You could even jot down some notes in your notebook real quick to help you remind yourself about yourself and how you would answer this question. Another type of questions is behavior descriptive. This type of questions asks, what did you do in a particular situation? Seeing how you performed in the past can possibly predict how you will perform in the future. Even though there's no right or wrong answer here, you want to make sure to relate it to the position that you are applying for. Some examples of behavior descriptive questions are, tell me about a time you worked effectively as a team member, and give me an example of a time you managed numerous responsibilities, and how did you handle that? So to answer behavior descriptive questions, we have a strategy here called the STAR method. Situation, task, action, and result. So for situation, well, you want to explain the situation, set the scene. Where and when did this take place? Then the task, describe the task at hand, or the problem or the challenge that you're facing. Next is action. What did you do? What actions did you take? You want to really outline the specific steps that you took, because this is a really important piece of your answer, and it should take up the most amount of time. The last one is results. What happened in the end? Did you receive any feedback or learn anything from this? You want to focus on the positives. Even if this wasn't very successful, how can you turn it around to make this into a positive experience that you had? The third type of question that an employer could ask is hypothetical or scenario questions. This is where the interviewer will describe a scenario or situation that you could encounter in this position, and they want you to answer kind of how you would react. So some examples are, what would you do if the work of a team member was not up to your expectations? How would you handle it if you believe strongly in a recommendation you made in the meeting, but most of your coworkers shot it down? So you want to answer these questions and include the following pieces. Explain how you would gather the information. Describe the actions you took. Demonstrate the skills that you need for the job you've applied for. And discuss the expected results and appropriate follow-up. There are some difficult interview questions that the interviewer or employer might ask you. So the first one we want to cover are negative questions. Sometimes they will ask you to identify a weakness or a time where you performed poorly. So in order to help you answer this question, we have four things that you can do. So you can be honest, but you always want to make sure to turn it around and end it on a positive note. And with that, sometimes an employer can also tell if you're lying. So it's best to just be honest. Then you want to be strategic. So if they've asked you to identify a weakness, you want to tell them a weakness that you have, but you want to make sure the weakness that you've chosen to tell them is not the most important piece of your job. You want to make sure that it's not central. Then you can overcome. Always state what you've done or what you are doing right now to overcome that weakness or something that has happened, or explain why it's not so bad. Then you can learn from it. Be sure to reflect what you've learned. Talk about how maybe you would have handled it differently next time. What have you learned from it? The next difficult interview questions are illegal questions. Often employers may not even be aware that they are breaking the law. It can just happen in a conversation as you're walking to the interview room, just to get to know you a little bit better. You have every right to refuse these questions, but you want to be aware if you do refuse it in a confrontational manner, that could impact the employer's view of you. Also, something to note is it can be helpful to volunteer the information. For example, if an employer has asked you about your family status, there could be an underlying reason as to why they've asked you that question. Maybe they're concerned about your flexibility or availability at work, maybe your ability to work long hours. That is where you could disclose some information, such as maybe you and your partner have already discussed this and have made arrangements with the kids to be somewhere else, or are open to making arrangements so you can be more flexible at your job. So some protected subjects include race, ethnic and national origin, family status, marital status, and age. Another difficult interview question is salary. How much do you expect to get paid? For this, you want to be flexible and well-researched. You want to know your worth. So how can you do that? You could look on the Canadian Job Bank or pay scale statistics to find out some more information on what that position would approximately be paid. You could ask somebody who works there or somebody who works in a similar position at a different company as well. So often in an interview, they will ask you, do you have any questions for us? This is a good opportunity to ask some questions that you might be concerned about, or to clarify anything that you missed or didn't understand in the interview. A prepared and well thought out question will demonstrate that you are genuinely interested in that position. So some examples of things you could ask would be, what would a typical working day look like for this position? Will I receive any training? How will my success be evaluated? Will I work independently or as part of a team? What are the company's short and long-term goals? So step 4 of the interview process is follow-up. This you want to evaluate and learn from your experience. Why should you follow up after the interview? It shows that you are interested in the position, that you still want the job. It gives you an opportunity to add any information that you didn't say or it wasn't covered in the interview that you think is important for the job. It also leaves a positive impact on the interviewer about your interview. Some things you want to include would be to personalize the letter. You want to make sure that you've addressed their name, whoever interviewed you. You want to talk about how you'd be suitable for the position, highlight your skills and abilities, anything that you may have forgotten to say in the interview, and always thank the interviewer for their time. And again, say that you're interested in the position. Some ways that you can follow up would be by written correspondence, a telephone call, revising your resume, or including a sample of projects if that's important for the position. So here is a sample follow-up letter. In your follow-up letter, you're going to want to tailor this to the conversation that you had in your interview. If you were invited for a tour, you might want to include that in here, thanking them again for that. If you were nervous in your interview and you left out anything, or you felt that you didn't answer a question exactly the way you had wanted, you could include that information in here as well.
Now we will just take a little bit time for some questions and we will try to answer them. You have a little chat box there where you can write them down. However, we will send you a PDF of this presentation so you can look it up again with some samples, with some options to just look through it, to get prepared, some questions you can ask for in an interview. Anything we have, we will share with you because we have your emails. So in the next 2-3 days, you should receive something like that. If you have an interview coming up and you would like to have a mock interview, Renee and I are open for those, where we will look into the position you are applying for and try to ask specific job-related questions so that you can start to think about it. And often just playing it through with us or with a friend or with your partner or even with your maybe older kids can really help you to be confident about your answers, confident about your body language, and you can guide the interview with, not just being there. And that is just our wish, that this little webinar is just helping you to gain confidence and to know a little bit about questions you can ask or they will ask you. So yeah, if you have any questions, then please just write them into our question box. If you rather would discuss something personally, you can send it to us. Here's our email address, renee@regionalconnections.ca and agnes@regionalconnections.ca. So you can email us your questions, or if you have any suggestions or ideas you would like to discuss, we are here for you. And I hope this webinar helped you to be prepared and really just have fun. I know it is hard, But in the end, you have an opportunity to present your skills, your experience, and they have a chance to meet you, and they liked you already. When they invited you for the interview, they liked what they saw in the resume. So now you just need to put your personal touch on it. And we believe that every resume and every interview will help you towards your dream job, and even to follow up if you didn't got the job is an opportunity to learn, okay, so what can I do to have a better chance for a position like that? Maybe it is someone got hired who has 10 years of experience in Canada and you don't have that, but then you know, or maybe they say, well, we were looking for someone with this and this education. So then you can think about it if you want to do an extra course maybe. Or if they're saying, well, it was about language skills, then you know, okay, I can work on that. That's easy. And so to not just be in the blue with an answer, you can always follow up, and it's always a good idea. All right, I can't see any questions and answers, so then I would just wish you a wonderful rest of your day, and we will wait. If you want to contact us, please do so anytime, and you will hear from us in the next 2 or 3 days, where we will send you a little package how to prepare for an interview. Thank you for joining us, and have a wonderful day. Goodbye.